That. There we go. All right. Holy cow. Struggle's real. That's a bummer, man, that your live stream's not working, but I'm sure you'll get it figured out. It is kind of a pain. It's a struggle. I definitely have some struggles as well. I feel like everything I do when it comes to streaming takes multiple steps to get it all figured out. Why is my announcement not working? Annoying. Can't. Dude, it's getting started in streaming is you just have to look up a lot of videos. Like I spent so much time just looking up. I don't know. It's a steep learning curve. There's just so many settings and stuff to use. What are you what program are you using? I'm assuming you're streaming on YouTube, but how are you streaming to YouTube? Like OBS or some other thing? Gotta go destroy that, don't we? Poking through. I'll talk you through some stuff depending on the program. Can't tell if you're streaming or not. Should be fairly... I mean, I guess I have to know, are you streaming on YouTube or Twitch? Because I'm worthless with Twitch. I don't understand crap so far. It's so complicated. Just YouTube? So if you're streaming on YouTube, it'll like... You can open your channel on a different tab and tell. Like it'll tell you that you're live. Is the easy part. Are you using OBS or something else? Might be able to help you better from there. Need to get one thing open. Like having my notifications on from Twitch. Now, I know what's happening. Alright, we got rid of that. You're not using OBS to as your like recording thing, I would suggest getting OBS. I think you have to use... I don't think you can stream necessarily, no. So like the way that I do it, and I'm not totally sure how it works in terms of like if you can actually stream directly from YouTube without anything else, but I would suggest going to, oh, naturally. Slow. I would suggest getting OBS, downloading that. That's going to allow you to change all your settings and stuff, and then it's just got a streaming button. You can look it up on YouTube as well to kind of figure that out. But you'll just have to, you get a code from YouTube, and then you use that code to put into OBS, and then OBS is like the screen capturing. And that's what allows you to like add a webcam and your mic and like I'm just streaming this grounded instance. I'm not streaming like anything else. If you're starting your stream and seeing it, that's probably working. If you want to make it more in-depth and do other things, then I would suggest just learning OBS from the start. That'll allow you to do a lot more things. YouTube's very limited, I would say. Trying to think of what I want to work on tonight. I feel like I'm in a slight builder's block just because I've got a lot of randomness to figure out right now. I want to figure out how to make this entrance cool, like the other side, with less gain of... There's less verticality. What's up, zombies? How's it going, man? Like, this one drops so much more because of the way I built it. I just happen to already have this super deep drop. So I can't make the other side this cool, is the struggle. We have to find a way with less cool stuff going on, how to make a cool space. Tough times. Which I think makes me want to move this over. Or back one. Guess I could have just moved it back, but whatever, you know. Because in theory, the way this is going to work out is this is all houses and buildings and stuff. And then it's going to like bottleneck here. So you can either go down and around that way or down and in front of this. So we need a little bit of a walkway here, but not like crazy amount. And then we need these stairs to be the only way to get down essentially. So they have to be kind of cool. Thing is, I closed YouTube and can't get back, so I am confused. If you closed it and it stopped stream, you probably would just have to like start another stream from the way I would see it. Unfortunately, even though I stream every day, I'm kind of a boomer. No, nothing. I want to do something cool with this whole space. I just don't know what. These? Hard part here is there's so many grids going on in this area. It's like with this grid and this grid coming together, it's kind of weird. Trying to figure out how this is going to work. You might have to just like go like close it out essentially. Like it might still think you're in stream itself, I guess is the confusing way I can describe that. But I would just try to go back to the streaming page and see if there's anything like it's still trying to run, or if you have like a setting, like a button pressed because it still thinks you're trying to stream. It's like isn't bad, it's just not quite what I'm looking for. I think I need to keep building it just to see what the potential is. I want to have a cool interaction with these two grids that are coming together, so it's hard. I have multiple grids going on right now myself. It's interesting. It's like it's really fun, but there's a lot of jank involved to get it to like a usable level. In a lot of the other areas where I have multiple grids, it's more of like a very natural interaction where like this wall just meets here. And so the fact that they're on different grids, they just clip together and they look perfect. And like really easy to build a building off of this back wall, even though like this grid's all going at an angle. Really easy to build off the wall because then this stuff just clips into it. So you don't really have to think about it. But what I'm doing is like bringing two grids together and not a corner, and it is funky to say the least. And it's like The pagoda base does the same thing, where it's got grids that come together in the corners and meet, but it's organized in a way that they meet correctly. So, because it was planned to meet in the corners as perfectly as possible. Not that they all do it. But in situations like this, like there's no plan here. I didn't plan for like how this whole area was going to go together by any way, shape, or form. So it's like, what is going to be the right answer for any given thing? Hard to say. It does allow for little funky things like this, which I don't... Works. It's not great, but... It's decent. But that's the, when you build on different grids, you kind of have to accept the jank at times. That is just kind of naturally what you're creating is some jank, no matter what. You can hide a lot of your things if you plan it out well, but if you don't plan out well, then you just kind of have to accept the process. These gaps don't really matter, but it kind of drives me insane. So these are the little details that sort of bring things together so they don't look as weird. Originally, I was thinking of maybe, well, maybe we just get rid of these. Create maybe some of it. Try shutting my laptop down. That's probably a good idea. When in doubt, restart. I'm at the accept the process, yeah. It's I think a lot of people struggle with it. Like, as someone who's a perfectionist in many ways, building off-grid in this game has forced me to not be a perfectionist many times. So I'm actually really liking that bit of the process. It's it allows for a lot more interesting building. It's like, I think Luderav is a great example of that, where he's not stuck to like symmetry and organization. He lets his mind just kind of flow and create whatever like feels right and whatever happens with the crazy spaces he creates. And that's where I'm trying to accept that mentality a little bit more right now. Because it makes being okay with this little stuff that's like, is anyone really going to notice that this little thing is sticking out and that this one wall is actually slightly shorter than like the other walls? But it lines up better, so I'm going to keep doing it. Dang it. Because that's how I want to roll, you know? I wish that was one wider. I don't love that. Something like this would look. I need a half crenellated block. Wait a second. The issue is I can't do this on the other side, though. They're going to be totally different. Cool, sure. That's probably fine. I can live with it. It's a lot harder to make an interesting staircase that doesn't have a lot of stairs. Much, much harder. Like, working with these half stairs is just inherently less interesting than full stairs. And make life tricky. Like, it's fine. They don't need to be as epic, but I really wish that I could do some type of like angled stair. Just isn't going to work, I don't think. This is going to drive me a bit insane too, I think. Because that only works because this is technically on an angle. Because this is straight on this grid. That's such a weird interaction. Interesting. This is why I love building off grid, because you can create things that shouldn't work at all. It's like this should be 1.5 blocks, but because this grid, this is straight out and this piece is technically on the angle, it doesn't look like it, but it is. So these two pieces are longer because the angles are longer, if that makes any sense at all. It's a confusing process to explain, but it fits right, and then it's not going to work over here, which doesn't work for me. Which is the struggle. How do we create this in a way that allows us to do this properly? Have to make this a full block, not a half block, I think, even though that's a bummer. It's just not dropping as much as really makes this very difficult to make look good. And it's further away, which also makes it kind of weird. It's like the other one directly enters, but since we have so much going on, we have to like if we're making a legit city, no one's gonna like walk and then go up this, down this, and around and like up or something, or down to here and then go back upstairs to get to the center area, because this is gonna be a main area, so all roads have to lead to the center, like plaza space, whatever ends up being built here. My brain hurts. I have no clue what's gonna be built here now. I also really wish they had a trapdoor, because I really want to make a trapdoor in a building that drops down to one of the pit antlions. So it's like a sarlacc pit. That would be really cool. I also don't like this side at all. I want to make like interesting staircases. These. I like how these turned out. I don't like how this is working. There's just a lot of staircases going on in these areas that make it a little more difficult to kind of plan out. Maybe just doing something really straightforward. It's also an option. Have to be overcomplicated? No. Is it cooler when it's overcomplicated? Kind of. That's gotta move. Definitely gonna be doing some ADHD building tonight. Seems like the route. I'm sort of like in between builds and things I can work on at the moment, so it changes the way I'm thinking about things. We're in the process of figuring out what we want to do more than building interesting things right now. Just always it's ebb and flow of building, I think. That does work for me. We may even be able to take these and guess this is, oh no, this should be the grid, right? Which leads me to believe that this might go in. Hello? I could live with that. You ain't holding nothing. It was holding two things, but not as many. Been reorganizing and mass collecting feathers. Did you get the scarecrows? If you don't have a scarecrow, just get a scarecrow. You won't have to collect feathers anymore. They're freaking fantastic. And from the sounds of it, they are going to stay live even after October. That's all right. What a mess. It's funny because it works well enough, but what a mess. 10 of them? Nice. I'm actually thoroughly surprised with how many feathers I've been getting. It's like 20. I have like 7 at one base and another 6 at this base. And I've been collecting them, and I'm getting like 24 plus feathers a day, it feels like, if not more. Like, feathers are not an issue. And they said it was supposed to only work in October, but they've been testing, and it seems like it's going to continue working even after October, which is like game changer. You'll literally never have to go get feathers ever again once you get them. As long as you have some candy corn to make sure you can always build them. Pretty amazing, though. I'm a fan. That's an amazing addition. Very, very good addition. Especially because they're forever at this point. It doesn't sound like they're worried about that as like being a thing as well, which is what makes it even better. They have an interesting mindset going where they're like, finally, like, instead of nerfing things, they're kind of like, at some point, you have to build the best of the best. And so you can't nerf everything and make it difficult, because at New Game Plus 15, you have to use stuff that's ridiculously strong, or you're doomed. So they're like, you know, to make New Game Plus better, this is what we got to do. See, Dinky wants to break the game, then we have to kind of let him. Which I am quite happy about. I think that was the biggest potential like thing that they missed with New Game Plus, is like, they open up the opportunity to let all the builds be viable with the way trinkets work. So let them all be viable. Don't nerf them. Let them go crazy. Yeah, like I'm getting 12, just out of those 6, I'm getting 12 plus feathers every time. What's up, Harley? Welcome in, man. Doing good. We're figuring out what the heck we're doing next. I have a lot to do on the mini face god building thing we're working on, but I'm realizing at how daunting of a project this is going to be in terms of like these little details, that it's like I'm going to have to do all of it off stream, because I need to sit in silence and just do it or else I'll lose my mind. I'm going to fill a chest at this rate. Oh yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm like 2/3 through this chest now. I'll never, not that I'm using all that many feathers, but like to have a full chest of feathers is going to feel flex, you know? I've always had people like, how do you get so many burr and lint? And I'm like, I just farm like crazy. And now it'll be like, full chest of feathers is pretty impressive. Used to be an impossible feat. I probably used an entire chest of feathers on the pagoda base. Maybe 3 wide? Then one of these. Something like that. Ugh. It's kind of jank. Hello? Rude. Could move it back one, adjust it. I don't know. We'll have to figure out how. This area has to change. I don't know. These almost need to be tied together is the struggle. There's too many things happening in this little area. Struggling with it. 2 rows left and it's full. Nice. A lot of feathers. That'll make me want to use more feather roofs, because I gravitated away from them a little bit in this whole build. There's a little here and there, but compared to what I could have done, not many. What's up, Oozin? Welcome in. Come to watch us struggle. to figure out what the heck we're doing, that's what we're doing. I do like the idea of getting rid of some of these stairs. I don't think we need to be able to walk, like, all along this whole thing. I don't see any point in having stairs along this entire edge. Kind of pointless. Some of them, some of the areas, totally fine with. Not all of them. Maybe like just central. It also makes it a little easier to make a like housing on this side if it's not like weird stairs going up. So that also kind of makes sense. I might head that direction with the pen too hard. Now I'm just holding on. Oh man, I love it. I'm going to use as floor with Harley's massive red carpet rug idea. You're going to use feathers with the red carpet idea? Like you're trying to go like this thing? Like this? I didn't know that you could place this on top of these. Interesting. Didn't know those worked as a floor as well. Interesting. I just keep learning things. There's just so many weird interactions, dude. It's kind of blowing me. Black, red, oh, that's sick. That's a really good idea. So, let's see. Let's see how it looks. I want to see it. They only... Still trying to figure out how these things work, so... It wants to be on top. Guess you could do it like... that. Maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe there's an easier way to do it. It might fit a little better this way. There's so many things you could do. Kind of looks like a frayed rug. Yeah, it is. It is a rug. But Harley, sorry, my brain is all over the place, figured out that these are like, essentially you can make like a red carpet because they visually clip it. They visually, I don't know, I can't think of the word right now for some reason. My brain hurts tonight. Instead of everything else creating a line, they clip together essentially and create a seamless texture. And he used it as this like massive red carpet flooring, and it looks absolutely insane. And now we all want to figure out how he did it and use it in our own builds. Not how he did it, but like, how can we use that as well? I'm also thinking, so I built this up mostly last night and then I finished it up. So I've been wanting something in the center of this that's like a cool art piece for a while, just because it's kind of boring in here. I mean, it's interesting, but it needs more. So I think I'm going to do the lights all the way around each one of these in a different color, and then like white up the center. Or the other way we could do it is white all the way around and then one color up the center, like on both sides here. That would also be really cool. That I might lean towards that because it might look cleaner. I actually think that might be the way to go. Question is, what is that color? Purple? Green? Green might look kind of nice in this whole area. Like a cool green up the center. It's not bad. Let's see what the white looks like on the outside. Just copy one of these so I don't have to change anything. There'll be a lot of lights, so I think we're definitely going to have to go through and start deleting some of the crazy lighting I've done on the outside of buildings so I can better do this. Wondering, maybe not quite this close. That's maybe a little overkill. And for anyone who's ever curious of how I work through Builder's Block and not knowing what to do, this is kind of how I do things. Is I try not to stop doing what I'm doing. There's always something else, at least if you're building big. There's always something else to work on. There's always a different area you maybe have not finished or thought about, and little details, the interior design versus the exterior stuff. I always try to find a way to like keep working on things, but taking a break from the current project. Whereas I'm a little bit of a standstill with some ideas here, so we got some work to do to figure out where we're heading next. Keep the crazy lighting. So the exterior lighting is mostly what I'm talking about. The interior stuff is all going to stay, but the vast majority of the exterior lighting that I have going never renders in. So I'm going to take some montage images of the exteriors. I already have a lot of the other stuff done. At some point I want to do a base tour for this build, for this whole sandbox build. Probably before it's completely done, since we have a ways to go still. Just so I have a video tour of it on my channel. And then as soon as I have all of those montage things, I'm going to start taking some of that lighting down because it offers nothing. Because it doesn't render in unless you're really, really close to it. So you only see it with the handy net. So once I have video footage of it, it's not really doing me any good anymore. And it takes up the a huge amount of the memory in the game. Is the Scarecrow worth it? 1000%. Those suckers spawn 2, like if you have 6 of them, you'll get like 2 feather drops a day, maybe more. And that'll give you, I've been getting with like 6 to 7 at each of my bases. I've been getting like 12 plus feathers a day. In one set of spawns. Sometimes it's like, I think it's 5 in-game hours a feather has a chance to spawn. It's a lot. Like you will fill a chest with feathers if you build 5 to 10 of them. That's all you'll need. You want to go ham, you could build 10 and then undo them. The white floor, this is the columns. So it's just the top of the columns, and then these are just quarter. Dude. These are just the quarter blocks, so you can use any of the quarter blocks work in between these. The grass doesn't work very well, but the stem also looks pretty good, and the mushroom looks kind of interesting as well. I can actually show, as I was messing with that as well earlier. I'm afraid of my center tower because I need over 600 pieces of ash. It's printed out already. Half of it's built already as a tower garden. I mean, it's just a long-term project. So this is what they look. This is what stem quarter walls look like. This is what mushroom quarter walls, and this is what ash cement quarter walls look like. You can kind of mess with them and go crazy. I didn't come up with this idea, actually. Someone else did. I just utilized it, and someone else used it like this, and I copied their idea to do lighting in between it. So I used their idea of just lighting the same way to get lighting through it. And then on this next build, someone told me that they did this for ceilings, the same thing, and filled it in with ash cement. And then I figured out that if you use it as a floor, it looks really cool. So I tend to take other people's ideas, a lot of interesting stuff. Like I'm pretty sure I came up with this column idea, or I hadn't seen it before I made it. And then someone takes it and makes it more interesting. And then like I see this floor design and I try to take it and make it in my own way. these things. Luderav, another fellow builder, built these type of things, like a crazy DNA strip thing of lighting. His looks very different, but I figured like a slightly different way to do it. And so a lot of it's just taking other people's ideas and turning them into my own sort of thing, just by moving them and rotating them and pushing them around, all sorts of stuff. Feathers in the carpet are a good combo. I was going to use in other areas, and the feathers and the mushroom pillar floors to make a gigantic chessboard. That'd be interesting too. Cool thing is you can use like the different armor pieces to make the chess pieces different. Dude, this is so much lighting. What am I doing? I probably need like half this amount, and it will be plenty. So I'm going to build every other one first, and then we'll see from there. I haven't built the chessboard. That's sort of what I was messing with in the floor for the many-faced god temple thing. Was doing like a checkerboard floor with burr floors and these mushroom pillar floor things. I'm not sure how I like it yet, though. I'm not sure if it's right for this build. I like the idea of some of the extra patterning to make the floor more interesting, but I don't know if it works for this build. Might need something to be used somewhere else. I'd hate to see a console player try to load your world. I don't know if they could. The build limit might just tell them no, honestly. Why do I only have 288 sprigs? What? I had like a full chest. Yeah, there's no way I need more lighting than that. I don't think it'll look any better. Okay, good to know. Worth saving materials, because apparently I'm going to run out of sprigs. Even though I had a crap ton of them. I thought I had 2 chests full. Or 1.5 chests full. I wonder if I used all of them. I did use a lot making the streamer. I don't know what to call them. Little designs for the market that I was working on. Like hanging flag. String lines, I think was the original idea. Those look cool. I think that's a cleaner way to do it. I'd love to have the devs on my world again for another Casually Grounded. I wish they were still doing that. See if they could even load it at this point. I'm not sure if they've been on any worlds that have had this much building. I know there's people that have more items placed than I do. Well, maybe not more. I don't know. It's hard to say. But like, they haven't been on Luderav's world, so I don't know if they could load that. He has more stuff than I do because he has so many creative builds. But I know one guy that's built like all over the map, but I don't think he was ever on Casually Grounded. He's an Xbox player though, so he's built everywhere. Use an everlasting torch and place it on a board. Not only is it brighter, but it's a bigger radius. The issue with those is it's really expensive to use as a lighting source. And I prefer typically the coloring, like the ability to totally adjust and customize how this stuff looks. It's kind of ominous. I like the green. It's kind of cool how it shines through, but also isn't like super green everywhere else. Might be too much white and it might drown out all the green, so that might not work as well. Could just do like every other level though for the white lighting. Maybe not overwhelm it too much. Or just the center glows green. Maybe the center just glows green. That could be it. I definitely like the everlasting torch, but I use so much ash cement and so much lighting that there's just no way I could do like... I love the idea of maybe doing smaller details, like little torch. I like if they looked maybe more like a torch hanging off of a wall instead of like just being stuck to an acorn board. Visually, I'd probably be more interested in them, but they tend to just not quite do what I want visually, even though the lighting works really well. I did know that. In my case, it's just always easier to use the little lights, because it's the only reason I use the lights is for the cool lighting effects. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch them. It's like details like this. Space it out, and I feel the space. With accent color, that works too. I just use so much of them like this and stuff, where like this wouldn't work with that. It's purely the effect of like, I like that light. And so I would have to use the torches very sparingly for the way I want them, the builds to look. Like, I don't really want a torch stuck to this. I like that just kind of is a light that unrenders the thing and you can kind of see it. But I think there's a place for that torch trick as well. I just haven't quite figured out how I like using them at this point. Slowly but surely coming together. Well, maybe we just build this out and just don't. To find us, what do we do? Why is that there? That's the hard part. Maybe it becomes this. Maybe that just opens up and this whole thing goes out to like there. Oh. Just give her one of these. That actually works with this as well. Oh, no, it doesn't. Midget. But we could just bring it out like this, I guess. Do that. That's an option. Kind of funky, but I could make it look cooler with some effort. Just sharing those circular pillars in that other building. I'm just seeing. Yeah, so yesterday I was randomly like, for the longest time, I wanted to build a statue in here, and it just, nothing in my brain made any sense because I was thinking like a sculpture out of the little tiny blocks, and I'm like, it just looks like a bad Minecraft character. And so I was out here just like screwing around, and I saw someone's build randomly on a Discord, and they did nothing like that, but they just happened to have the pillars that I used and then the circular ash things around it. And I was like, that's a cool idea. So I just built it, then started adding columns, then filling in the spaces, and I made the cylinder, and I was like, well, what if I just get rid of a layer? And I accidentally made them float. And I have no clue why they float, but they do. So if you build, the way I was able to do this is you build this column. It works if this centerpiece is not in there as well. This just, unfortunately, I had an odd number of pieces, so I had to add an oval thing. It looks really cool as a circle, just done like these floating rings. I preferred it with just the rings, honestly, but it doesn't work for this build. But by placing this, then you can build the rings around. I was able to just move this piece out of the way and they stayed floating, or built them all and then just destroyed the pillar, and it seemed to work pretty much every time too. I think it has something to do with the columns, like something about the hitbox for these specific things. So I think you have to have this column thing in the middle to make them float. But I was able to do it with these touching, with them now apart, and the floating rings are sick. It's super random that it works, but I'm here for it. I've never seen anyone build with some Halo rings like that, so that was a fun little one to figure out. Always enjoy breaking the game, you know. That's what I'm here to do. This is just so boring. Struggle. Could try to recreate a little bit of this effect, I guess. Be better if it lined up with that, maybe. Stargate transport rings. be pretty fitting, honestly. They kind of give off that vibe of like the ships giving off like the super. What are they? I don't even know what I'm trying to call it, but spaceship feels like spaceships give off that cool little halo ring that they shoot off. That's still not in the right spot, is it? One more over. And gotta move that too. Nope, that's the whole stair. Never mind. Okay. Now those are lined up, but then this just needs a full floor. Yeah. It's kind of random here then. Yeah, no problem. You might be able to see it a little bit on the end if you want to see it visually at the very, very end of yesterday's stream. That is like where I kind of started building it out. That might give you a better visual of it as well. So I would make this. Tricky. Tricky. Just want to find a way to make this look visually interesting. Because I don't want to have like 400 sets of stairs or like this whole thing to be stairs. It just seems like a waste. Doesn't really make sense to me to do it that way, so I'm not going to. Doesn't feel horrible. It doesn't feel great though. It's always the struggle. I'm like just off to where these don't want to work at like angles. And they don't want to be right because it's a half block. And they don't want to be right because life is a struggle. Grounded's testing me tonight, it feels. Just at one of those points where I'm like, I just don't quite know what I want to do with this space. I haven't found the right, like, precedent image to, like, inspire me to figure out how these are going to all connect. Like, I don't have a problem with little spaces like this, because I like the idea of, like, oh, you'd come here and you have this, like, great little view of the whole cathedral. Like, little spaces like this, they gave great little spots, like, to do garden patches as well. Like, this could be a really perfect little spot to, like, throw in a big mushroom as well. Like, so I enjoy some of these ideas, but you have to use them sort of sparingly, or else it just ends up as big, open, weird, dead-end spaces that don't really do anything. And I want a purpose behind the vast majority of this stuff. Purpose, or at least it needs to, like, feel like it fits. There's not really any purpose to this, so I guess I won't use that word, but try to create a reasoning behind why, like, certain things look a certain way, and it helps make them look more uniform and fit together when mini builds are all coming together now into, like, little tiny areas and how those areas interact. The better I do at creating a story of, like, how a city is going to use this space, how, like, people are going to go around this, and how would you naturally want to walk around this city? If I was a city planner, not that these are meant to be, like, perfectly done. It doesn't have to be exact and make total sense, but it helps me with my thought process in making better builds. Go collect all that lint. I'd always wondered. I felt like there was nothing. I was like, a lot of the raw materials are used for different things, but I didn't really realize that the rugs use regular, like, lint. They don't use the lint rope. That's interesting. It makes sense. It's a great little, great way to use a material in another way. Actually makes the red, the mite carpet not as ridiculously expensive too, which is nice. If it was all lint rope, it would get pricey quick. Is this guy gonna see me? I cannot understand why some of these guys attack me constantly and the other ones leave me alone. There's one of the pit antlions right under us here. Right in this area, and I can't figure out why this one doesn't bug me, but the other ones do. Good thing I have a trillion mite fuzz. If I ever find a cool place to use this, I will have plenty of mite fuzz. They're kind of my favorite thing. I feel like the mites are some of the easiest infused bugs to kill to get tons of raw science, so I tend to just go where all of them spawn and just kill massive amounts of them to hopefully increase the likelihood of them respawning as infused ones, and I have so much mite fuzz. And I use it for fuzz on the rocks. Smoothies. Those are pretty much the only smoothies I like using. Although these mazes are confusing, this is like... I love having all these like underground tunnels and weird stuff going on now. Get out of here. Okay, I swear... Where are my sprigs? Where they at? I had so many. Had two, there it is. Holy cow, I am like out. There any way that's true? Well, we're not out now. I got no problem stealing from myself. Ooh, did we get a candy corn? We have a couple candy corn. I don't really need them now. I have so much. I think I want to do the stump lab tonight too. Just get that over with real fast. Not the most exciting build stream of our lives tonight, but we'll definitely have to have these sort of down nights as we get closer to finishing. It's really easy to work on a bigger building like this for multiple days, but as soon as we get done with these big buildings, it's just lots of little houses, which mentally for me take a lot more time to lay out in a way that I'm going to be happy with. I thought I destroyed that apple. Did another one spawn back? Yes, of course. Why wouldn't it spawn as an apple again? Got a lot to do still. And at this point, it feels like my game is going to allow me to continue building. I'm not getting any weird crashes or crazy lag. The only lag I get is when autosaves go off. So the hope is that we get all of this done, detailed, finished up, and then we start building out here and build this massive building I want to build out there, which will be, I think, the largest single building that I have built and grounded. The whole build here is bigger, but it'll be way bigger than this, though. I think it's going to be pretty fun. If we get that far. And then we'll build farms out on the other areas. Where are we going? Destroy some stuff in here as well. Get this material back. Gotta remember to clean up every once in a while. Do my chores. That stinking widow and the black widow and the wolf spider that are in there scare the crap out of me sometimes. They get me good. That's depressing to see that go under 1,000. I had like 8,000 something at one point. And I still don't have the trinkets that I'm really looking for. I just have a few random trinkets that I really want. But no luck. What's up, Velocity? What do you do with those necklaces? They are trinkets. So in New Game Plus, you can... It's a complicated process, but infused weapons and these trinkets, these drop from enemies, and you can take one of these and use the deduper, and you can dedupe this trinket to get deduper jelly. And then the deduper jelly allows you to make single, double, and triple trinkets. So these get 3 infusions that are random. And so it's the same thing as like Thor's pendant or any of the other trinkets, you know, like each one of these has a different effect of some kind. And you're just essentially randomly making your own trinkets is how that works. And you get those by infecting the ant queens. You can unlock the different tiers. So infect 1 ant queen, you get the link. 2 ant queens, you get the wristband. 3, your third one you infect, you get necklaces. The necklace is the best version of each trinket because this is just 1 infusion, 2 infusions, 3 infusions. In terms of what's best, they are totally random. There is not one best. No 2 people hardly will ever get the same exact ones. So you just pick the ones, like, I have all these trinkets. So this is like a wasp queen one. This is also sort of a wasp queen one. This is a decent brood mother one. I think this is what I typically use for the brood mother. But you can get, if you think of like the battle axes have Finale Fury, New Game Plus added all of these different options. So you can get the cones drop from enemies. The necklaces are just randomized ones you make yourself. They're exactly the same. They all can have the same effects, but they're totally random, so you just get the best one you can get. Like, this is a good one for the infected broodmother, so this one's probably a little bit better for the infected broodmother. And you can get ridiculous randomness. You can get really good ones and really, really bad ones because they're totally random. But the likelihood of you getting the exact same trinket as anyone else is so low because there's so many combinations. Okay, spicy up best, spicy up best, spicy up major? What? How do you have a spicy up best, spicy up best? I don't think you can get the 2 on the same one, right? I want a fresh up best, spicy up best, sour up best. No, salt up best, fresh up best, sour up best. Trinket, something like that. I think spicy's the least important. I don't know. Maybe these. Maybe spicy, fresh, and salt up best on all 3 on 1 trinket would be kind of cool. But you just kind of randomly roll them, Marty, and hope you get good options. Total RNG, and like if you use each different weapon has like it depends on like the trinkets you like. I mean, the weapons you like, the armor you like. They all work together in different ways. So if you like staff builds, you can get spicy mage, fresh mage, or sour mage on the trinket, and each one gives the specific the spicy, fresh, or sour staffs a special ability. Like spicy mage gives you extra attack speed, so you can like literally rapid fire, machine gun fire the spicy staff as long as you don't take damage. As soon as you take damage, the attack speed resets. The katanas, there is samurai, so you can get samurai and it gives you an attack speed boost on only katanas, essentially. And there are so many random options. And then on top of that, in New Game Plus 4, you can get infused weapons that get 2 infusions. So you can make like infinite combos of between trinkets and the weapon infusions. The combination of 5 is like you can do anything. It's craziness, all the random things you can do with them right now. But it's totally random, so there's zero guarantee you will ever get one that you actually want. Like, I've been trying to get a perfect, in my mind, a perfect spicy mage one, because I really, really enjoy using the staves. They've always just been really fun. And I really like the idea of spicy mage because of the attack speed. It's just thoroughly enjoyable, but not the easiest thing to attain the proper trinket, because it's not going to be very good without getting the correct 3 infusions. So you just kind of sadly grind away. Of course he turns around right then. I use so much raw science duping all of this stuff that I have to kill every infused bug I see now. I need to go on like ridiculous murder sprees because I need that raw science back. Being under 1 million feels wrong. I don't like it. 4 hit the mantis on New Game 7? Nice. What is your setup to 4 hit it? Where am I going? Is it even possible to do that much damage? Even with like salt up best, salt up best, salt up best, salt up major, or salt up major, salt up best, salt up major, salt up best? I'm trying to think of a world where you can even do enough damage to 4-shot it. I guess boss damage on a trinket, salt damage up best. I'm trying to think of what would be the ultimate combo. Pure luck. I'll tell you that much. I mean, I've been rerolling trinkets since 1.4 came out constantly, and I haven't gotten one single perfect trinket that has like salt damage up best, boss damage, mantis damage. I haven't gotten anything. The best I can get is like salt damage up best, wasp damage. That's, and then the 3rd perk is completely worthless. Now. Duck. Bro. Help me. I think this is easier without my axe and the quickness. Got mini? How you doing that? I swear, the luck. I do not have trinket luck. I did all right on all my infused weapons. Those I've been done well. And I got salt damage up best, salt major. I have salt damage up best, implant weakness, salt. I really like the implant weakness sour because nothing is weak to sour, so it always works on everything. It's a really good general sour one. I like the fresh one as well. I think I have another fresh one that I just haven't upgraded, and I have a club that has spicy up best, spicy up major, as well as the antlion sword. And I have a couple other random ones that aren't all that bad either. I just haven't felt like upgrading every single one. Okay. I always feel like I'm missing stuff in here. Like this lab's too short. It's not a lab. I know it's like an auxiliary chip. So it's not like a real lab, but it feels like it wants to have more. I do remember you doing... I think you did the trinket glitch more than I did as well. And then, of course, I mean, I guess you always... all you're focusing on is that stuff as well, so... I stopped making trinkets for a little while because I was like, this is just... I need to make the crystals. So I needed de-duper jelly, and I was using too much. Are you... oh, do you save reload the trinkets? That's horrible. I would lose my mind save loading the trinkets. No, you could de-dupe the trinket you had attached, and it would give you it would just give you endless amounts of de-duper jelly. Or you could de-dupe it 1,000,000 times. Like infinitely, so... I think I made like 6 or 7 chests, but I feel like you made more, if I remember correctly. Although, I wish they brought that back, because honestly... it needs some work. I think the trinkets need to cost less de-duper jelly. I think they're too expensive right now. For them being completely random. 0 necklaces? Dude, your luck is crazy. I can't think of hardly any cones that I got that are even decent. This is the only one I use on a regular basis, and it's just because it has quickness and lifesteal. And that's fun for me. Like, pretty mid. That one's decent, but it'd be better with boss damage or broodmother damage. This one, like Finale Bleed, is worthless. This is just mid. They're all mid. Everything I get is mid. At best. $40 hours? How is that even possible? Couldn't do that if I tried. Go give... I think I have multiple things I gotta give to Burgle.
Hello there. How can I help you? Hand it over. Ask away. Good. How can I help you? Ask away, my friend. Which lab would you like to how can I help you? Have a great day.
Apparently I don't. Need to find 2 more milk molars? 2, I think, at some point. That's it. That's all I'm missing. 2 more. For the useful upgrades. Good old Black Ops. I will say, back in the day, I definitely didn't stay up and play for 40 hours straight, but I did play a lot of COD when they were released. Many CODs. Pretty much every time. After COD 4, I played every single Call of Duty through Black Ops 2. I think at least Black Ops 2 on release day. Every single one. And each one had 30, at least had 30. And that's like the really crappy ones too. Like World at War and some of the really old ones that weren't great. Yeah, I played all of them 1,000,000. 21 gold? Holy cow. That's way too easy. I remember back in the day, you had to grind. All I cared about in every Call of Duty was getting gold guns every single time, or some of them had diamond or whatever it was. I would literally, like, that was my thing. I got so good with every weapon in every game that I would go like 21-4 with like pistols, only going for headshots. I had so much fun doing that. The gold camo grind, so much fun. It was like my completionist just ran wild with those games. Like completionist mentality ran wild with those games. Could do like that. That's not great either. Sure, it's still a lot of work, but like you used to have to get 100 headshots or like for pistols and every stupid gun in the game. Was it hundreds? It might have been more. It was a lot. Like the red tiger camo in COD 4, like that stuff took forever. And then I even would get like the rocket launchers and stuff, which were stupid hard to get as well. Because who's gonna kill 100 like kill streaks and stuff? All those. There's so many random things you had to get. I'm pretty sure I got like every gold gun in every game though. I can't remember a specific one that I didn't get like the final camo and on every gun in. I would get 10th prestige as fast as possible and then go for gold guns after that. And man, was it fun. Well, it depended on what they were. I'm just using gold camo as... I haven't played since they added Dark Matter. That was a long time ago. I stopped playing at Black Ops 2. Dark Matter wasn't a camo back then. I haven't played a COD since... I think I played one of the newer Modern Warfares at a friend's house for a little... Modern Warfare 2 didn't have Dark Matter, did it? You can't get Dark Matter on those. The ones I played, I think the only other option other than gold was like diamond in the last ones. That the last I played. I can't remember anything other than that. Definitely wasn't any Dark Matter in the last CODs I played. But I would have had it. If there was a camo, I had it in COD, in every COD I played at least. That's just my thing. Dude, I haven't played... The last zombies that I played was... I wish I knew what it was called. It's the one where they introduced like the octopus crazy frickin' monster things. Like tentacle balls. Those things are nuts. My buddy had all the Easter eggs in that one and had a blast doing it. So he showed me that one, but I haven't played any other since that. We played a lot of zombies. I'm trying to remember if it was Black Ops. I'm trying to remember the first game they added Zombies 2. At one point, I was in like the top. Me and my friend's score for Zombies was in like the top 10 or top 50 or something like that. Maybe it's top 50 in the world for score. My buddy used to have a YouTube video of it, but he took it down. It was back when it was like really hard and there wasn't all the craziness. It was like Nocturne Tootin' or something like that, I think is that one was called. It's like the movie theater. At one point there was a movie theater and that was where I did. I don't have any Call of Duties now though. Hard to play zombies when I don't have COD. They're so complicated now, too. It gets, like, crazy. When you don't play one for a while, like, the amount of new stuff they add is nuts. Same general idea, but taken to different levels. I'm really tempted to see what this looks like just green. I'm not sure I love this white light. It either needs to be all white or all green. I think the hard part is that this sort of drowns a decent amount of the other lighting out. It's just too much. Whereas like, that looks pretty cool. It's simple enough that it glows really well. I think that's going to be the route. I mean, I don't have a desire to buy a COD right now because I don't have the time to play it as much as I'll want to. They're too addicting. I have too much to do. And it's not something I'm interested in streaming because I get very vocal playing competitive multiplayer games. My wife does not like when I played Call of Duty. I'm an angry person when I play COD. If I'm not doing well, everyone knows about it. I probably wouldn't be as bad. I just cared a lot more when I was younger. It was like, if you didn't have a 2.0 KD, like, you couldn't be part of the cool kids club. You had to go sit in the corner. I know, but if I buy Call of Duty, then I'm going to have to play it, and I just don't have the time. Like, it's not an option of, oh yeah, I'll just play zombies. Like, I will not be able to contain myself. I enjoy first-person shooters way too much. Same with, like, Valorant. I don't want to stream things that aren't where the channel is where I want it to go. If I'm streaming, it's because I want to build my building community and my survival stuff. I'm not going to get any viewers from streaming zombies. So it doesn't help me grow, it just entertains me. And all the one people that will be watching, because I'm not good enough or interested enough to make entertaining Call of Duty content. It's exactly like, I think the perfect example is Paralyzer jumped onto Call of Duty and did zombie maps, and his viewership went from like thousands of views per video to like 10 to 20 views per video. And I don't really feel like adding that to the channel at all. I just don't have any interest in it. I want to stay focused on what I'm doing because this is what actually works. This is what people are interested in from me, and this is what I'm interested in streaming. There's a potential down the road as the community grows that I want to do like community nights. Like Fridays could be community nights where I play other games, but the community has to be large enough to like play other games with. And even then, I might still lean towards more survival crafting games anyways. The communities that Call of Duties bring are not typically the people. The communities are typically so toxic, I don't really want to bring that community into my channel as well. We're wrong to go off path to get some new viewers. Yeah, but I don't want those viewers is the thing. I want, like, someone who wants to watch Call of Duty Black Ops 6 zombies content is not the same person that wants to watch me make a build. And I want to create a cohesive community throughout. Variety streaming's great when you're like huge, but the vast majority of people that are successful got successful from sticking to one game type or one genre. Jumping through multiple genres is just building multiple communities from scratch every time you jump to a new game. And that's the struggle that I don't have a whole lot of interest in having 100 people in my community that want to watch Black Ops 6 stuff, which is not something I'm going to do consistently. That's just the way I see it. Everyone has their own opinion about how it works, but if I'm going to build YouTube, I'm going to build it around this aspect of what I like to do. not around toxic Call of Duty players. Guess I could do this. I have no clue what I want to build right now. My brain is so all over the place. Friends with a partnered streamer, also mod, and he started with one game. Yeah, it's just easier to build a community off of one game or one type of game. Yeah, that's just my thing, though. Whatever works for everyone else is all good. My interest is just in survival crafting games for this channel. There's a world where some of that other stuff can get added and played later, but this is what I have fun doing. No one wants to watch me get mad at Call of Duty. Even if and I don't really want to sit and play zombies all night, because it just doesn't sound as interesting to me at this point in life. I've played so many zombies. With a dock where they boat off the dead? Huh? Boat off the dock? Off the dead? The who? Because it's a zombie? That's just me. I'm particular about how I want to build this channel. And the specifics of what I'm going to do and play on it. It's just my vision is all. I also really want to stay away from games I find extremely toxic, and Call of Duty is one of those games I find extremely toxic still. I enjoy the cozy vibes sort of thing. Not that we're like always that way, but that's more the direction that I want the channel to always be in. This one rotated wrong. That looks better. Can't have two larvas next to each other. Sure, let's do one of these. Egyptian boat of the dead? Interesting. Oh, I know velocity. I know. Don't you worry. Ain't no question about that. I just have my vision that I'm going for. Is all. I have a very specific idea of how I would like to do things. Mosquito? Termite? It'd be so random. I wish some of these were smaller. Like, why is the scarab not smaller? Why is the antlion just slightly larger? Why are the mites slightly different sizes too? Seems rude. I've seen some really cool boat builds. It's one thing I've never built. Just never had a good... I guess I could build a boat off of the pagoda, but... never had a great spot for it where I want it to be. They're tough, too. It's quite different than a building. Dude, this is going to take me hours. Hours. It's ridiculous. What am I doing with my life? Why do I come up with these ideas? They all sound so great when I'm thinking of them, and then I'm like, what was I thinking? It's going to be so ridiculous that I'm okay with it, but man, I'm dumb. Self-mutilation at its finest. I almost need to, like, just go around and, like, place. Might be easier to do this is, like, exactly how I did these columns. I figured out how many different pieces I need. Like there was like 256 or something of these armor dummies. Then I just had to figure out based on how many helmets there are in the game, divided by that, how many of each helmet type I'm going to need, which was like 8. It might be easier to be like, okay, there's this many head mounts that are this size, and how many spots are made of these columns. There's 2 head mounts per column. That might be an easier way to do it. And then it's like, okay, just go place 15 like wasp ones, and then go place 15 aphids, and then 15 larvas, and then 15. It's probably only gonna be like 4 or 5 of each, because there's a lot more head mounts for these, since each one has different variations of each. But that way I don't have to like sit here and try to like create randomness. I can just fill in the gaps randomly. I think that probably, and then it guarantees like most likely none of these are going to be next to each other. Because this process is daunting. And I also figured out that I placed all of these dummies, and from the ground I can only reach the top 2, maybe the 3rd one. So then I'm going to have to build up and around all of these to put all of the different head pieces on. Ugh. This build's going to look freaking sick when it's done, but man, it's a lot. A lot of stuff. That's sort of why I decided to go to the outside again, because the outside's the less overwhelming currently. Like, I could just look at the outside. Look how good this looks. I'm so happy with this design. Turned out really nice. Don't look at the inside, because it's making my head hurt. There's so many things. I figure out what to do here. This dead end feels wrong. Issue there is there's no triangle foundations. I think I need to go into the suggestions and write out a big list of pieces that should be added to the game that aren't like new pieces necessarily, but should be fairly easy things to create, in the hopes that they have someone that can still model, and maybe I'll pull some weight being a mega builder that still streams the game. Maybe for all of our sakes. Ash arches, please. Ash columns, please. Surely someone could just make that, right? I'll do it for free. I could probably adjust the models they already have. I think I'm gonna do, not that anyone has hardly any clue what I'm doing. Although I liked these little details, this allows me to build a house right here, which I'm gonna do on the other side, and I think it makes sense to do here. House or shop or whatever it's gonna be. But I want to integrate these stairs kind of into the surroundings a little bit better, and having this stuff just makes it so it's hard to fill in these areas better. There's not a whole lot of room to work on this side of the map, but how I've sort of positioned this thing. We're gonna have to be a little bit creative to make that work. But I like the idea on this side as well, that like the housing frames the staircases a little bit, instead of these just being massive staircases that take up a lot of space for no reason. Like building this into someone's house just makes more sense to me for some reason. Use it as a backdrop to a house a little bit, and it'll add more detail. It'll make these stairs look kind of more funneled and interesting. Perspective-wise, I think it'll work out, but it's going to take some thought process. Also, if anyone wants to figure out what the heck to build in here, be my guest, because now I've really made this area difficult. Just like creating a central plaza is like, my brain is farting. Having a major brain fart on that side of the map, on that part of the map. I'm also mentally struggling with how I'm going to lay this market out too. I have some daunting interior projects going, I think is why my brain is all over the place, because I'm like just starting on a ridiculous interior, just starting on a complicated interior, exterior, but the amount of detail in this market is going to be ridiculous by the end of it. Whereas a lot of the houses were a little easier, so it might be nice to start laying in some of these houses a little bit better. Maybe get this side done and then leave this side for a later day. It's already 10, so we're not going to get a whole lot done tonight on this side, but I need to kind of figure out what the game plan is for the rest of this housing. This turned out phenomenal. I'm really happy with how all this turned out. It looks great, but now we have the precedent. We have to do just as good, if not better, for the rest of the city. Can't do worse. How about a Coliseum? The issue is I don't know if I have enough space. Because you can't build... I mean, not here. So I do have an idea. Maybe we wouldn't call it a Coliseum. I've never quite had the space that I wanted to. I originally thought that, because there's one of the pit ant lions right here, I thought maybe that'd be an interesting space. Unfortunately, I don't think you can build down all the way. Like, there's a certain point where they... Maybe not. Maybe I'm just lying. Alright, well. I don't know. I couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. This thing's also off-centered, which drives me slightly insane. The fact that it's like the center of it's here, so it doesn't really work in this space. I will be building, as long as the world allows us, a massive building out here that we'll be working on, where we could also build. There'll be a big building here, village, farmland out there. Could build a Coliseum outside of the sandbox. But I don't currently feel like I have quite enough space to do any of those. Especially because this can't go down. Like, it has to build up. We could go a little bit down, but the more down we go, the more this antlion attacks everything. So that's specifically why I raised it. Also, there's a lot of sand right here, so we can't really build down. So it's like we're kind of stuck with this flat area, which makes it exponentially harder. And I've always seen like a Coliseum and those things bigger. I don't feel like I have a great spot for something like that. At least in my mind. Like, this is a big area, but I want this all to be housing. And different cool buildings like smiths and blacksmiths and all sorts of stuff like that. Inns, pubs. Standard city stuff, because I want it to look like a city, so we have to utilize the space. This is the only like big space we have left. Everything else has to be the houses that I want. From there, what we do on the outside, we could do... It would probably make sense to do it just outside of the sandbox as well. You typically wouldn't have like a jousting arena right in the center of the city. It'd be like kind of on the edge or outside the city walls. It should have some of it, but not the city walls, but like the main... I guess the way I've thought of this is if you think of like King's Landing, like this is the... Yes, there's a physical wall, but the idea is more so that like this is part of the city. So this is maybe the higher end of the city. And then as you go outside of the sandbox, that's sort of like, I'm thinking of this more as a inner city wall, where then there'll be more city out here as we go, of course. I mean, we're a long ways off. But different types of city kind of build out from this. Sort of part of the same ecosystem of town. If that makes any sense, but we'll see. Hard to say. The spaces I have left are kind of funky, so houses make the most sense. But I also want to rework this area. I don't think this is quite... I need to add some type of detail here. I don't want it to just be a bunch of stairs. Like, it looks visually interesting, but it does nothing. I love that, like, these stairs are tying into houses and, like, being better utilized. It's not perfect. There's still issues and stuff. There's still funky and weird things going on, which I think is cool for this city that maybe feels more organic. So I want to find a way to tie this in, because originally this was going to be like a market, and now that the market is up here, it makes more sense to figure out like some other thing for this to be. Whether that's maybe some housing down one side or like vendors, or I originally thought of this as sort of an amphitheater, I guess would be the easiest way to describe it. So like this is a place where you'd sit and then there'd be like shows or plays in the center. Typically, yes, those would be on maybe one side, but I don't know. Could be the idea. It's just not very big. So you couldn't really like, it's not a coliseum. It's a little tiny for that. And I don't want the center of the city to be a coliseum. So this might end up as just more housing, especially because we have the market. This becomes sort of the square, and we can build around this to make it more of an interesting square and like plaza space where, I don't know, there's coverings and all sorts of stuff that we figure out as we go, and that frees this up to be housing, which might work. Or like maybe a main road sort of comes through here. A little off-centered, but kind of is what it is there. That's how we did that. But you could picture maybe a central road kind of coming and going, so then we build more housing or buildings or whatever it is, but it's going to be a really weird space to fill in. This is my biggest, like, what are we going to do? Don't know. Everything else I kind of mentally have thought out. It's just now getting into the details of how it's all going to work and how to make it look interesting and chaotic, like a city. Little by little, we're getting there, though. I think the finer details like this also just take a little more time. A little more difficult to figure out, a little more difficult to... When you have a big open space... Like I always say, I try to build with the environment, and like that sort of thinking helps build something like this, where like this is just the edge of the sandbox, and there's a drop in here, so it made sense to make a weird little path and all this little stuff. So building with the environment, but then you also have to sort of think like it's harder to build in these little spaces that I've now created. Because of the bigger buildings are easier to place. You kind of pick the position and then build a cool building, and then you kind of have to infill it, and it's a little more difficult to infill. How about a jail? It's not a bad idea. Where, though? Be a small jail. It would make sense that, like, this is like the barracks, so like where the city watch would be. We have like the bug stables for them. It would make sense in this area. I don't know where else you'd attach it though. There's not really anything under you could do. You could make a pathway through here, like a tunnel, and put a jail underground. That could be an interesting concept. One idea I had was that the underside of this would be like the King's Landing cathedral built thing they've got. So they have a massive like under area that holds all of the, what is the fire explode bombs that they have. Something fire, the green fire stuff they have. I can't remember that off the top of my head for some reason. But this would essentially be in a basement filled with spiky burr bombs to sort of mimic that idea. And then I was going to make a video of blowing the whole thing up. But I could make the underside, like, because this is where we just were with that little lab space. You could go down here, build around, and build this into a jail underneath everything. Because relatively speaking, this is all really open. As long as I don't get too close to the floor, none of the antlions in this area will spawn in the bases. So if I built a little thing here, we could build the jail underneath here, which would be kind of interesting and like makes sense. We have a lot of space under here as well. I mean, we could do a dungeon thing on a lot of these places. There's a lot of room under here that we could build in eventually, which is the goal. That's why I have like this will be a secret little passageway. You go down and then you'll be able, a lot of it's so I can still get down here and collect some of the materials that are down here, but I also want to make them sort of like design pieces. So a jail would be an interesting one to add. Add it to the list of buildings we can. I'm always, oops, what the heck? How did I just window grounded? Texting. Yeah, if you have any more ideas for random buildings, those are helpful. It's always figuring out where and how that makes sense, but a little jail cell I think would be a great little addition. That's also something like connecting it to the barracks. Like, I feel like there's a lot of dead space here currently. We could make a little building here that ends up being the jail, and it's like something that gets entered through somewhere here. Like, we somehow create this space. This is super random and I don't like it, so we could build this building out further and make this a jail. Not a bad idea. I don't hate the idea of the jail entrance. This could be a more epic entrance as well. Where, like, I just kind of threw it in here because I wanted to be able to get to this lab still. But if we make it, like, have a rhyme and reason, like, we could make it bigger, make it, like, an entrance to the jail. Could be a really interesting little addition to do here. And then that utilizes, as cool as the spiky burr thing's going to be, it doesn't really add a whole lot. It was just kind of a funny idea, but I'm not sure the world is going to allow me to build 200 spiky burr bombs without, like, crashing. Even though it's a funny idea, maybe part of this, since there's so much space, like, part of it could be jail and part of it could be that spiky burr area. Doesn't necessarily have to be the whole thing. We can kind of commingle those, and that makes this, what was a shed, maybe more useful. So I kind of like that idea. It's something I could definitely mess with. And then we can make this way more interesting, like a more useful little shed that's a little bigger, and there's like a desk and processing area, and then we put like a door like this that like goes down to the stairs, then that goes down out to the jail. Be another great little detail, I think. And that's sort of how I want this whole city to feel. There's a lot of like passageways that I've built in to get underneath things, and I want to keep it that way. And like, so you have to explore everything to find, like, there's a lot more than you might think if you like explore everything. And like, that's where areas like I'm curious what's under here. Like, underneath the church, there's extra space. We could build stuff under here, like build a little storage area, could build a little crypt. We could build, like, there's so many little extra spaces by the way I've laid out the foundations of this city right now that allows us to kind of go nuts and create depth and layering. Although, like, so the city looks like one thing on top, but it's a totally different thing underneath, which I like that idea. I think it makes sense. Still doesn't necessarily solve what happens here, but the more good building ideas I have, the better off we're going to be. We'll destroy that apple and hope to get something better to spawn. I love how I've done, like, almost no building tonight. Sometimes that's just how we're going to have to be. I'm kind of surprised that I haven't hit, like, a building creative barrier. I had a really good flow going with ideas that just seem to work. There's always, like, slower parts of each build, but I think with the larger building scale that I was working on, it was a lot easier to just consistently jump between ideas. But as these bigger buildings get finished, smaller buildings don't need as much detail, And it really comes down to like making good decisions now. So I have to think about the layout before I just build. Because we have to make all these weird spaces now work. Which we've done. Fairly successful so far. I'm confident about how all this is going to turn out as we go. This is going to take some major research on precedent images and ideas. Because we lost. I don't know what this thing's going to be either. I need some ideas for what this is going to be. I wish this straw was like sticking up and I could make this like a chimney sort of thing or something. But it's kind of funky right now. But, you know, that's all good. All right. I think I'm going to call it here. It was a long day. I got a long day ahead of me tomorrow. I will hopefully be streaming tomorrow. I am on my own. My wife has a girls' night thing planned. So the hope is that my son is a little less insane with her gone. He likes to be riled up at night when she's home. So I'm hoping I can keep him to a little bit better schedule since I have him all day tomorrow. While I'm working, which is going to be rough. But the hope is that I can keep him on his normal schedule. Maybe we get him to bed a little bit earlier tomorrow is the hope. And I could stream earlier than later because I've been getting on really late. Feels 8 o'clock instead of 7 or 7:30. Allows me to get in a little bit better of a flow. 2 hours is kind of hard to get a whole lot done. But I appreciate everyone hanging out tonight. You are not. If anyone would like to join our Discord server, feel free to hang out, post your build ideas, anything you got grounded related, building related, crafting survival, that's the place to come and chat. But with that, I appreciate everyone.